In an era of gaming when arcade racers made for the thrill of crashes and speed are a dying breed, I tend to get excited about any new games on the horizon that fit that bill. That's why a little Kickstarter titled Next Car Game caught my eye all the way back in 2013. It was a demolition derby-style game with soft-body car physics that added a satisfying crunch to every hit. Coming from the beautiful Finnish faces of Bugbear, the geniuses behind the flat-out series of demolition derby games, I was chomping at the bit for what came of Next Car Game. Unfortunately, after failing to raise money in a Kickstarter campaign and overhauling all of the mechanics to make the crashes feel more intense, forcing the game to miss its 2014 release, things began to look pretty bleak. But soon after releasing an early access version of the game, the initial funding goal was smashed to pieces. While I never got to play the game due to lack of a PC, my hype was thoroughly boosted by the various videos NerdCube released over time. Eventually, the title was changed to Wreckfest as the game became more and more fleshed out. Wreckfest always stayed in the back of my mind when racing games of today are brought up. So imagine my surprise when I stumbled across a review for the game a couple of weeks ago, and also imagine my even more surprise when the official release date was the next day. I freaked out. Immediately after I woke up, I snagged a copy, sucker punched the disc into my system, and after only an hour of waiting to download a day one patch, it is 2019 after all, we were off to the races. To put it lightly, Wreckfest was worth the wait. I had no choice but to make a video on it because it's literally all I wanted to do for the past 2 weeks. I cannot put it down. Every track raced, every front wheel lost, and every sofa car flipped shines a specific light on why this game will go down as one of my favorite racers in the modern era. If you like racing games, Wreckfest is a non-negotiable addition to every single collection. You have to buy it. You have to. Sorry, them's the rules. You sign the contract when you click the video. Now let's start with those soft-body physics that get you in the door. I didn't think cars could be mangled in the ways that they get broken up during these races. In fact, I know they can, because when you get T-boned, your character inside of the car gets mangled too in the most brutal way possible. The actual human person driving your car also has soft body physics and contorts to fit the destruction on the car. It is deeply unsettling. But seeing how many points of contact and crumple each car has is almost worth getting for itself, just like BeamNG.drive. Car wrecks feel like controlled chaos, like watching a crash test video where the stakes are so low you can appreciate how satisfying it is when a car hits a wall and just becomes a cube. I'm absolutely trash at this game. There's a lot of challenge in it, even on easy, which I found out I was playing on the entire time. For all intents and purposes, I suck at this game. But you know what? I don't care. I don't care at all. I've been playing the same races over and over and slowly chipping away at the different tournaments trying to progress since I got the game. But just watching the cars bump and bend around turns is an experience in itself. It fits somewhere in between the gray area between arcade racer and racing sim. On one side of the coin, you have so many different ways to tweak suspensions, engine upgrades, and weight distribution that you can really change and make a difference in how cars handle and drive. Be clear, this is no Gran Turismo or Forza, but there's some more deeper tweaks in it than a simple game like Need for Speed. On the other side of the coin, Wreckfest has all of the staple cartooniness of the flat-out series that came before it, sans crash-out challenges and mini-games. But you can still launch opponents into space with a well-timed T-bone or shunt. And that is the best, most satisfying thing I've ever seen. Actually driving in Wreckfest feels incredible. Cars feel like they have real weight to them, especially when you start adding reinforced steel to add to durability. It's like driving in GTA if that wasn't the worst thing on the planet. God, I hated this game so much. And speaking of adding to durability, I find that slapping a metal bar on the side of a car to reinforce it is the funniest thing. Like I paid $1,000 to a mechanic to go, just slap a beam on it, I don't know, it's my first day. Every car feels distinct from one another. Front-wheel drive cars are grippier than their rear-wheel drive counterparts, making them way easier to get started with to avoid fishtailing. Eagle-eye car nuts will recognize a lot of the vehicles being very heavily influenced by real-life vehicles. You have not Dodge Challenger, not Chevy Bel Air, and car that definitely doesn't have the body of a Volkswagen Beetle bolted to the roof. Driving on concrete is an entirely different experience than driving on mud, which seems like a very basic thing to get right, but it also seems like a ton of games these days also get it wrong, so rest assured, Wreckfest has good dirt. Actually racing and doing demolition derbies is enough to justify the price of the game at only $40. It's not even a full-price game. Every lap you take shows more and more wear on the track, from the tire marks to the toppled walls of tires to pieces of your opponent's vehicles littering the place. After longer races, the tracks begin to look like the aftermath of a tornado, and that's something I wasn't expecting or knew I needed until I had it, but I can assure you I will be absolutely livid if I play another game and even one fender from one of my opponents despawns before the race is over. You get to race against these competitors who have the most ridiculous names. That said, taking down someone named Nerdhammer feels like a small triumph when that name feels directed right at me for some reason. Where the game takes it up even farther is this ridiculous group of challenges it sets out for you. These different events usually make you compete for a specific scenario and break up the racing to bring you a completely ridiculous moment in the game. I mentioned the couch earlier. You literally drive a couch in what I can only consider landscape mode, the only way I can really describe it. Like, not the arms of the couch are in the front and back, they're on the side, so it's like if all of a sudden you were watching TV one day and your couch grew wheels and a motor and they were just like, race this. There's also challenges where you have to survive a race against buses with a three-wheeled, not reliant Robin. There's even this maximum overdrive type level where you get chased by 18-wheelers modified for racing. It's absolutely insane, and every time I thought I'd seen it all, something else came up that got me even more hyped than before. Now, I have to point out a few things that made me scratch my head, and let me be absolutely clear, not a single one of these things made me enjoy the game less or anything like that, but it was just a few things that could have put this game into legendary status. Racing has this thing called rivals, where basically if you're in a race and you get hit a few times by somebody in particular, or get shunted pretty hard, that person becomes your rival and you get extra experience every time you hit them back or do anything with them. And essentially, when you experience stuff, you can unlock more challenges. When you're racing in a lot of these series, your rivals don't follow you from one race to another. Basically, you only have the rival for the one race. I think it'd be a lot cooler if you started a series with one rival and you got to take the entire series with them and like crash each other's cars. I think that'd be really cool. It's not anything too crazy, but it seems like a little bit of a whiff. Another thing that I feel is kind of limited is the customization. And I mean, Need for Speed barely lets you have any fun with cars anymore. Sure, I love the fact that I can drive around in a station wagon that has metallic coffins sprayed across the side, but I want to make my own designs. With so many cars on the screen at once, a lot of them share the same designs and paint job and assets. I'm sure it has to do with the fact that there's a major online component of the game and we can't trust human beings not to put phalluses on everything that they possibly can as soon as they get the chance. Oh well. But besides those two itty-bitty complaints, Wreckfest was a revelation in what current-gen platforms can really do with a racing game. I didn't believe a console could handle this game until I played it myself. It's almost a magical experience. It's the first game I've seen that comes close to utilizing the power of my PS4 Pro. Even in 1080p, in the recorded footage you're seeing over the 4K that I actually played with, the game is gorgeous! Every pebble that makes up the concrete, the lighting and the colors, it's all just a treat to look at. I even played with the camera mode in this game, which is something I never touch in any other game. It just looks beautiful. At this point, I'm just gushing over this game, but for good reason. I love Wreckfest already, and after the hours of playing, I feel like I've barely scratched the surface. It's a game that sets out to do one thing: make a competent racing game with excellent crash physics, and it does that perfectly. It's just plain fun. That's really what it all melts down to. It's fun. That's gonna do it for this week's edition of Under 10 Hours. I am so passionate about Wreckfest. I hope you are too if you've gotten it. Let me know what your experiences with the game are down below. When did this game catch your eye? Was it worth the wait for you? I don't know. If you like the video, please give the video a like. I appreciate it. If you love this video, have fun smashing the subscribe button. If you want to keep up with what I'm doing, what I'm rambling about next, check my Twitter account at Under 10 Hours on Twitter. I'll be back next week with a new video. See you then, but until then, I'm going to go play some more Wreckfest.